good, dude.
Not much.
All
All right.
So let's talk it out.
All right. I did miscellaneous politics because I feel like we could go through numerous topics.
Sure.
So I think I'm for the Second Amendment, and you should have the right to fly the Confederate flag.
Okay.
I know you've challenged me on both of those. So.
Well, I think we went through one of them on a like a comments of a debate for the right to fly the Confederate flag.
Right.
Obviously you can fly it in your backyard. That's personal freedom. You're absolutely entitled to do that. Nobody should be able to fly it above a state house, though.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that. I think we're pretty much sympathetic on that. Freedoms are, of course, the highest thing we can pursue.
Right.
Now let's see here, guns.
Yes.
Because that's going to be a nice good one. Okay. What do you need? What do you need an assault rifle for?
To protect against government tyranny.
Okay. So the government tyranny with drones, airstrikes, no fly space, you're going to take that out with an assault rifle. And you don't think that the government is recording who's got assault rifles?
Not necessarily that. We have seen in multiple, like in Europe, where democracies have gone tyrannical. In Italy, in the 30s with Benito Mussolini, and then Adolf Hitler,
Sure.
they were all elected in, and it kind of fucked them over. So if everyone, not everyone, but the ones that are mentally stable have guns, that's more protection against a potential Benito Mussolini or a Adolf Hitler. That's what I mean by tyranny, not necessarily we're being watched.
Sure. Somebody's watching this right now. I mean,
yes.
Absolutely.
SA.
For sure. Now, are you saying that you don't support any regulation of weapons?
There shouldn't be automatic weapons that we already don't have, and there should be background checks.
Universal background checks.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that people should have a mental exam before they should be able to get a gun?
That would be the primary background check, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can't be a felon. You can't be mentally unstable to own a gun.
Okay.
I mean,
that's actually further than most people, frankly, that I've talked to have gone. A lot of people are just like barely want the background checks. Do you want to close the gun show loophole?
That's like when anybody can just buy a gun, right?
Right, under certain platforms, like gun shows,
right?
State vendors can cross state lines and don't necessarily have to check.
I think to register to own that gun, you should get a background check. But I mean, because you can't register every single gun and make sure everyone that has one is able to have one. I know 11% of the mass shootings, 11% of the shooters were mentally unstable. That's
right.
An easy 10-11% to get out.
Well, there was also, say, the shooter in Charleston that was just racist. There was
and hated America too.
Well, okay.
You've
got a lot. You've got people though that that'll get through some of these background checks.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying we can't ban AR-15s from Walmart from being at $600? I mean, it's really easy to get these guns is the issue.
Go back to Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof didn't hate America. He had a website where he's spitting on the American flag and burning it. He was a racist, yes, because he had the Confederate flag, but he's also wearing a Gold's Gym shirt. Gold's Gym hasn't taken any action for that.
I mean, come on.
What? I mean, it's the same.
No, it's not
symbolism.
Even close, the same thing. You're drawing a false parallel, and you know that. Come on.
I mean, if you see on the media, that's the picture that he shows is him showing up the Confederate flag, not him burning the American one. or him spitting on the American one either.
Oh, I'm not saying that there's no bias in how the story was shown or that certain parts were left out.
Right.
Of course there were.
Because I mean, he is a racist, and he does hate the idea
Sure.
of America. I mean, no one burns
But
the American flag.
you know, when Muslim Taliban leaders have videos, they say, you know, you can go to America and purchase guns very easily. That is one of the things they say. I mean, because it is extremely easy to get guns here. You know, the guy in Orlando was on the fly list. He still got a gun. And you said in the last debate that you were not for anyone being on the no-fly list shouldn't be able to have a gun. You think they should be able to buy guns? People on the no-fly list.
If you're on the no-fly list, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun. You shouldn't be able to register to have a gun. You can't prevent a black market. There are way too many guns on the black market anyway. To try to regulate that, you're out of your mind. So to register for a gun, say, yes, government, I have such and such gun, you know, you have to be, the government has to cover their bases. If I want to go buy a gun off the black market, you know, it's a black market that's illegal anyway. The government can't be technically responsible for that because it's already illegal. You're doing more illegal things. And then, you know, it's not at that point, it's not the gun's fault. It's the black market and the person that's selling its fault.
Okay. I want to talk about drugs after this because I think that's an interesting point when we talk about drugs in this nation and what we should do on about the war on drugs, how to manage drugs. But let's see here. Shit, I just lost my train of thought. Let's see here. I was talking about. Yeah, okay. Say, would it be a good idea then, or would you support a increased tax on, say, automatic weapons to make them more affordable and so that poor people and people that are more prone to violence can't afford them? We've already tried this with some weapons and it's been pretty successful. If you can drop 30 racks on an assault rifle, you're not going to go shoot up a church. I mean, yeah, it's slightly unconstitutional as it stands now. Frankly, I mean, it would just be putting a price point away from the American public is what it would be doing. But what do you think about that?
I don't like taxes in general, but if high prices come from supply and demand, if you can buy, you know, an assault rifle for $10,000, they're not going to buy it off that website. They're going to buy it off the black market where they won't be regulated at all. So I think that if the AK-47s, or not the AK-47s, but the semi-automatic weapons were, I don't want to say cheaper, but I guess say the continuous price, but add the mental background checks and then add, you know, everything else, that would reduce the black market sales.
Putting more restrictions in would decrease black market sales?
I don't think, are you mentally,
is that what you're saying?
Is, you know, being mentally able a restriction? I don't, you know, because I know if someone that's severely mentally handicapped or even somewhat mentally handicapped, they're not going to go out and buy a gun. I mean, have you ever seen a person with Down syndrome have a gun?
Well, okay, but we're not talking about those type of mental illnesses either. We're talking about sociopathy, psychopathy.
But you can't measure them with that. I mean,
well, that's part of the background and mental check for signs of that. Yes, you can actually take tests and we can figure that out. I have personality disorders. I know I do because I took a test. I've got 3 of them. I'm sure you could guess if you spent long enough watching me. But you know, you're not going to notice just passing me by. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you're not going to know that I have any type of bad intention off of a 10-minute conversation.
Right.
So I guess the question is how do we ensure that, you know, this isn't happening? This Passover isn't happening. You know what I'm saying?
Well, all right. Do you think that it's just semi-automatic weapons that are the main cause of all mass shootings in America recently? No.
I think that semi-automatic weapons in the form of AR-15s, Bushmasters, extended clips, and the easy accessibility of these weapons was the main cause of it. Yeah, sure. Or not the main cause of it. I'm sorry. The people who had the ill will in the first place were the cause of it. I mean, it's not because the guns were easily available.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But the fact that they were easily available made sure it was a gun attack instead of a knife attack or something like that.
So what would you say about the Virginia Tech shooting that involved handguns?
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, that was the largest shooting in America for a while until this past summer with the Pulse shooting.
Sure. Well, we've got to figure out, I think, as a nation, where we stand on that. We, in my mind, we either need to go do what Australia did, have a massive gun buyback program, massive, limits on buying weapons, importing weapons, massive tax increases, or we need to understand as a nation that some of these things, I mean, we can't do as much as we want to about them.
Right.
Because you're absolutely right. Virginia Tech massacre, I mean, none of these solutions even covers. And that's how tough this issue is.
Right. So how do you feel about, I guess, gun-free zones? Because I know 13%. I'm getting this off an infographic, I guess, but so that 13% of all shootings happened in gun-free zones.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
I see, and that's the scary part is when why did he shoot up a church? There's no guns there.
Exactly.
At the same time, how much help is a very more than likely undertrained security guard going to be? How effective is he going to be in that situation?
Right.
Is another question for sure. To arm every school and every church and every government building all the time, and that's I would say that's a point against relaxed gun laws rather than a point for.
So in the cases of the university that you can have guns on campus, you would disagree with that?
No, I don't think students should have guns on campus. I don't think teachers should either, frankly. And I've read a couple stories about teachers, going to the restroom. They've got to have their gun on them at all times, pulling down their pants and shooting themselves in the leg, literally. Like these things happen. And no, I don't see that it would be better. Teachers aren't trained to use guns. It's a lot harder than a lot of people think. It's not, it's not a first-person shooter, going on. There's a lot that goes into actually pulling that trigger at the end of the day. And to have teachers that aren't very well trained, that aren't, they shouldn't have guns. No.
So in the event that the teachers are well trained, because I think in Liberty or in Texas, because I know 2 states you're able to have guns on campus. I think one of those had teachers that had to take a class for. So that means they would be well trained in that.
It's a class, but even police officers, doing studies. I need to look up that study actually, just so I can give you a source of it. But even police officers, have decreased reaction times, much wider, ranges of accuracy, or not as good of accuracy. I'm sorry. In high stress situations, handguns are tough to shoot. Really.
So even in cases where the teachers are trained, you're still against it? Because I know when I brought up the first point, you were saying that teachers that aren't trained, they shouldn't have guns. No. So it seems like you're just kind of against guns in general.
Because I do know the type of people that you're talking about. I do know they're very responsible gun owners, the guys that can actually, the ex-cops that are now teaching in schools, absolutely they should have guns. Ex-military members that are in schools, yeah. Think people like that. But your average bookworm teacher, no, I don't want them having guns. That would be, yeah, no.
Well, I think with, an average, because you can choose whether you have a gun or not.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think a bookworm teacher isn't going to be like, yeah, let's get a gun. But the people with the police, the law enforcement background, military background are going to be much more likely to have the gun.
Right. But that's not stopping the teacher that wants to see themselves as a hero, maybe, from doing that same thing.
But after the class, I don't know.
It takes,
because then they would be trained to handle that.
Consistent practice to be good at. It doesn't take more. It takes more than one class,
So what kind of gun?
Sorry, go ahead.
So what kind of guns do you want to take away? Like assault rifles, or just?
I don't want to take away. I don't want to take away guns per se. I don't think we should keep selling certain guns, I'd say.
Okay. And like what format? In the gun show, or like by companies? I mean, because you can still get guns from Mexico and whatnot. Many of the shootings in Chicago you're not supposed to have them anyway. 62% of the mass shootings they weren't supposed to have the guns anyway. So if they did follow the law, that would be 60% of the mass shootings that just wouldn't have happened. They got their guns illegally in the first place. So having restrictions or not having restrictions, in that case, it doesn't really affect them at all. I know in Chicago, which is a large shooting city, a large high violence. It's not with AK-47s or assault rifles or anything. It's with handguns.
Handguns, yeah. So is Memphis, and yeah, like North Memphis, and yeah, well, most of Memphis. That's a very that's a valid point. I mean, that's it's that fine line between regulation and I don't want to call for a war on guns or anything like that. But it's hard. It's hard to get rid of the problem. And there's not a good answer for that. And I can't give you that. That's a very good point. We do need to stop the illegal influx of guns in a major way. And if we could, I would funnel more money from the DEA to the ATF. And I would make that more of a priority. On that front. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I don't really have to say. I was gonna say that we've kind of exhausted this point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You want to talk about drugs for a little bit?
Sure.
Drugs. Alrighty. How do you feel about drugs?
Medicinal marijuana should be given if the doctor sees that it would help the patient, but drugs as in cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine should not be legal. Okay.
I'm going to go and take a very far left position on this.
All right. I will come back.
Okay. I do believe in legalization for pot, legalization for not just about all drugs up until methamphetamine and heroin, but I would decriminalize those as well. Here's the reason. The war on drugs has been a failure for the last 40 years. Drug use has not decreased, it's gone up since then. If we can make
what kind of drug has gone up?
Well, heroin, prescription pills, meth, all of those have increased in drug usage.
Right, but like what kind of data is being shown? Is it showing that all drugs at once, or is it showing them separately? Because I know cocaine used to be very large in these, with crack babies and whatnot. I know now everyone seems to smoke marijuana. So if you're using the same data for all the drugs, that's kind of
No,
like
no. Have you not heard about like the opioid epidemic in the Northeast and some of the issues going
on? The heroin epidemic.
Right. Well, they're all opioids. What I would, and it's not just Maine. It's all across the Northeast. I would say this: let's decriminalize, legalize the drugs that are, lower than those. In methamphetamine's case, yes, I would say cocaine. I would say Adderall, and I would say, say Ritalin. And yes, you can go to a store and go, hey, I would like a gram of pot. I'd like a half a gram of Coke, an Adderall, and a Xanax if you want to. That's completely your right. And it's your personal freedom to do it too. I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I want to give people the right information. I want to tax the absolute shit out of it. And I want to regulate it, control it. That way, no, people won't go to the black market and get their drugs when they can go to the, corner store and get a guaranteed product. That's a very good quality, guaranteed quality, in fact.
Right.
So heroin won't be cut with, fentanyl and shit.
So
and so many overdoses can be eliminated.
See, I'm against the legalization of heroin because I feel that, some people say it's just a person problem, but it's kind of the community problem.
Sure.
If you have, 4 or 3 people, doing heroin at once at like a party or whatnot, they're not going to be trading the needle. They're more worried about the high that they're going to get associated with heroin than, what if that person has AIDS or hepatitis C or B,
Sure.
So I feel like with that, the epidemic is so large, it's not good to share needles in general, tattooing or heroin.
Sure. And that's why clinics actually provide free needles for addicts to help cut down on that problem. But yeah, go ahead. Well, they already do that. I'm not. Right. It's not my figurative world.
Just because it's available doesn't mean people are going to use it. You know what I mean? It might come down some, but it's not going to get every single one.
Sure.
And when it comes to Portugal that legalized all drugs in 2001, the rate for drug use is still around 30% in 2012, while in 2001 it was around 45%. While drug deaths have decreased quite significantly, it's not, people aren't using drugs.
Less.
So
sure. Well, what you see there though is completely in line with what I just said. We can get people help where otherwise they'd be in prison. Prison doesn't give you rehab. Only you got to go to rehab for rehab. And I would rather people get rehabilitation than incarceration. It keeps them in productive society. It keeps them in work. Versus rotting away in a cell where the taxpayer's paying for their ass to sit down. No, I want them in society. I want them working.
And they work in prison too.
It's not productive society. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it keeps up the prison. But I'd rather them stimulate the economy. I'd rather them have an actual job, pay taxes. Pay for their own food, contribute to their community. I'd rather them try to stay with the community than just take them away and say, oh well, sorry, you like to smoke pot, so I'm going to ruin your life.
Right.
Literally. I think that's. But
great. Isn't that kind of against the law, and that's kind of part of a punishment? Is not necessarily ruin their life, but to go to jail. And, because I know in Virginia, if you get arrested for any kind of marijuana crime, you get your license taken away immediately.
Sure.
Is
the punishment befitting the crime is the question. Is
Well, I mean, that's kind of
is me smoking pot commensurate to me losing my license for a year, me probably not being able to work, probably not going to be able to keep my job, not going to be able to, do the things necessary for me to be a productive member of society, just like that. So what's the upside of doing it that way?
Of legalizing drugs?
Of not legalizing drugs. What's the upside of keeping more people in incarceration, of not getting that tax revenue that we can, of diverting all that black market cash into our economy? I tell drug dealers all the time, I just want to give you a storefront. That's it.
Right. You know what percent of the population does drugs or whatnot? Because I know when they get drugs from, say, a clinic, a gram of marijuana, Xanax, or the other prescription that you mentioned, that does go into the economy. So we're talking about like cocaine and then like heroin?
Well, I'm talking about overall. I'm saying that without a prescription, you can walk into a store and say, I'm a college kid. I can walk into a store and say, hey, I got finals coming up, really hard week of studying. Can I get, 3 Adderall 30s? Should I be able to do that?
I feel like you can't, but I don't know much about it because I'm pretty sure you're supposed to have a prescription.
You can't. Yeah, you have to have a prescription. What I'm saying is
right.
Why shouldn't I have the right to go out and purchase something as an adult? I'm sorry.
I mean, because Adderall is a drug too.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between heroin and Adderall is quite significant. Adderall decreases attention. Heroin, it doesn't. It suppresses your immune system. More likely to get what?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there are more positive effects from Adderall than there are than from heroin.
So you would be open to that?
If you have a prescription that because you need Adderall, then I'll do the proper.
I don't need it.
Well, then that's the doctor's fault, and he shouldn't have prescribed it to you.
No. What about a system where I could do that, where I could literally go to a store and self-medicate if I chose to?
You can't do that.
You don't. Why not?
Because people reading WebMD isn't necessarily the best thing. I can go, look, I have a heart problem. Go on WebMD. I have a heart tumor. I'm going to die in 2 months. So people self-medicating isn't necessarily the best thing. But when a doctor goes, Adderall might help you. Here's a prescription. Go to your CVS or Walgreens or whatever it is. You just have some Adderall. If you have ADHD, it helps you focus. But with heroin, you can't do that.
Right. Okay. What I'm saying is that essentially my argument is this: if legalized tomorrow, you wouldn't go out and do heroin. Okay. If legalized tomorrow, you wouldn't do meth, I assume. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. Okay. So let's go ahead, open up the market. Okay. Give people information, really give people accurate information, tax the absolute shit out of it, frankly. And let's make it safer. There's so many drugs out there that why do I need to be, why should somebody be getting bath salts as an alternative, when I'd rather them have little Adderall or little cocaine for that matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Cocaine's also highly addictive along with heroin. I read an article about children in Colorado or Oregon that were having seizures because of the marijuana. Mm-hmm. If it's legal there, then we understand what the side effects are, I guess. Excuse me, but so would it really help though? I mean, because I assume that you'll mention Portugal and the uses of drugs hasn't gone down much. So people are still going to use the same amount of drugs as they were before. They'll die less, but in states, because we have laboratories of democracy. One state can do this, another state can't. What if it doesn't work out in one state, like Colorado, where the children are, having seizure, and it's not really working out? But yes, when you do tax the shit out of it, there is a lot of revenue generated for the state there.
Mm-hmm.
So would you be state by state or federal?
Well, I would say it'd have to be federal, because people going across state lines, and really, we need to start almost. I feel like we either need to go more state by state, like even more decentralized, or actually go ahead and make it even more centralized. This in the middle thing, I don't really think we're in a healthy position in our democracy, because there's too much. People don't know they're actually their realms anymore.
What do you mean by their realms?
The state says one thing, it's going to set its own set of laws. Then the federal government comes in and says, "Oh, well, no, we think it should be this way." But then the state, and then the different federal bureaucracies are going to do different things.
Because when in that case, it would be federal law, because federal law trumps state, local, and county.
Sure.
Like the federal minimum wage is $7.25. You cannot be paid less than $7.25. Right. But if Oregon wants to pay $10, sure, have at it.
Well, the issue here is equality, not necessarily fairness. So like gay marriage was legalized in all 50 states, which it should have. I mean, you can't. It's not a state by state thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not up to them. Right. It's equal rights for everyone. So when it comes to people's freedoms transfer to all 50 states.
There's a clause for that if you are married in one state, if you go to another state, they still have to recognize that you're married. It's not, you're only married in Arizona, but when you come to Texas, no, you're not married. Sorry. There's a clause for that an act, I think.
Well, that did happen with gay couples.
So if a gay couple was married in California, they went to New York, they were still married.
Well, if they went to Texas, they wouldn't be able to be married. They wouldn't be able to claim that tax status.
No, they wouldn't, but they would still be married.
Well, that's kind of the point. You don't get all your rights. They're withholding a chunk of what it is legally, and legally, you know what I'm saying? So you can't.
But isn't, when you're married, you have a combined income, so you're going to pay more in taxes? So why would those people, that were married, why would they file taxes together when you'll have less taxes taken out if you're single, because you'll be earning less money?
Well, it has to do with like spousal benefits, and like if one of them dies, inheritance type stuff. There's quite a bit that goes into it. I mean, I'm not going to.
Wasn't that in civil unions though, or no?
Well,
I guess what's the difference between a civil union and then I guess gay marriage is today?
Well, I'll give you what I used to think. I used to think that marriage, because it's a religious term, should be between one man and one woman. It's a religious term. Civil unions would be the secular piece of that, and that would be completely fine. The issue is that this separate but equal thing doesn't work. It doesn't work in reality. It's just, it hasn't. Civil unions don't have the same benefits or rights as legally married couples do.
Right, but what was the difference between a civil union and then married people? Like, what rights were different?
I mean, near negligible, but in some states it was more than others, like Texas or Oklahoma or Kansas. So
I'm for gay marriage, but it's
Yeah.
I can argue both.
Sure. No, yeah. It's always important to be able to do that. If you don't know both sides of every argument, you don't know the argument.
Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't harassing. I was just literally curious.
No, yeah, I just looked it up actually. Civil union is a legal status that provides many of the same protections as marriage does to couples. However, these protections are only available at the state level. Federal protections, such as tax breaks and social security benefits, are unavailable to the civilly united. And
Right.
that's legal law library.
But
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of that's why I would make it a federal thing, because I regard freedoms, rights, yeah, those type things as federally done.
I'm looking up the comparison. For the divorce, it's pretty similar. You can divorce someone for unreasonable behavior on both desertion for 2 years, separation for 2 years with the respondent's consent to the divorce, separation for 5 years. So that's all very similar. Another one is if a full gender recognition certificate has been issued as at the date of the marriage to the respondent, a civil partnership, if a full gender recognition certificate has been issued as a date. They're practically the same. But it was just curious.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, hey, fuck it. It's in name then. I mean, I don't know.
All right. How about abortion?
Sure.
How do you feel about that?
I'm pro-choice.
To what extent?
All the way up to, I mean, probably a month, about a month till the pregnancy.
Okay.
And that's a completely arbitrary line, frankly. Here's why. Well, I'll put it this way: are you pro-choice or pro-life?
I'm pro-choice.
Pro-choice. Okay. So we're gonna be pretty sympathetic on this. Obviously it's a woman's choice as whether she wants to raise this child or not. I'm not going to force a child into a shitty situation, to just live. That we knowingly force some kid into a ghettoized housing because,
right,
her or his mom didn't know how to use contraception. I mean, of course.
Well, some people do that on purpose as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do that, you get less taken out of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, because more dependents, less taxes, you get taken out.
Yeah, but
and you get more money in food stamps because you have more mouths to feed. So,
sure.
In impoverished communities, it's almost beneficial to have more children.
I don't think we should make that a good thing. I don't think we should encourage that either. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's a talk for the left.
Well, wait, say that one more time. Wait.
It would be a conversation for the left because you wouldn't be able to judge, well, did this couple have this, child knowledgeably, or, are they just using it for the extra food stamps and another dependency? So that would be kind of hard to fix.
Sure.
But I understand it's not morally correct to do that.
Well, it depends on your morals. I mean, morals are relative. They're completely relative.
So would you say? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So would you say abortion is moral?
I would not say abortion is moral.
Right.
But I understand necessity of it. Nature is the great abortifier. If why else do you have fallopian tube pregnancies and things like that? There are diseases and things that do kill out children as well. So it's part of nature to an extent. And I'm not saying that nature is ethical or moral in that sense.
All right. Yeah. I guess to say that abortion is moral is kind of a little confusing.
You couldn't say that. I mean, of course you couldn't say that. That would be an untenable argument.
Right.
Do you believe in God? Quick question.
I do not.
You don't? Okay. Never mind.
No.
No, yeah.
I'm not part of the religious right.
Yeah.
I'm conservative, but I'm not religious. I'm like a Barry Goldwater.
Well, except hopefully not a racist.
No.
No. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure quite what you think of my positions. I'm sure I'm pretty far left comparatively, and then some I like to think I'm kind of in the center, but I'm sure I'm full of shit.
So which ones do you think that you're in the center of?
Well, discussing my positions today, I've sounded very left. Normally,
I've disagreed about everything you've had to say.
Yeah. I was like, man, I'm arguing against myself right now. Normally I almost think I've got, kind of a centrist view on guns, but really I didn't really express that in what I said earlier. Yeah, I do believe that there are too many government programs and they're costing too much. I would completely take away the VA. I think it's a shit branch of the government. I've seen the care that veterans have gotten, and it's shit. And we can do better in the free market, and we have done better in the free market, and that's where we should treat them, not these government-run shitholes. That's probably something that I would go with. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm also for universal health care. So so that's back to the left again.
Kinda. Yeah. So I guess what else are you? I guess what are your viewpoints?
I mean, I consider myself a socio-libertarian. In that, I do believe in that government should be involved in welfare of the American people. I don't think that corporations have the best interests of the American people in mind. I think they only have their shareholder profits in mind. That said, I completely realize that the free marketplace has the answers to a lot of economy. And aside from certain industries, which again are focused solely on the welfare of the citizens, I mean, that obviously capitalism should be the driving force there.
Right. So what about minimum wage?
Okay.
How do you feel about minimum wage? Should we raise it or should we keep it the same?
We should raise it to $10.10 federally. $10.10 federally. That keeps up. That keeps up with inflation since 78. Which, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say an actual year because I'm not sure when the minimum wage was raised last. I know that it equals out somewhere in the 10 range. Now that's going to be for states like the South, like where I live, where the cost of living is lower than the big cities, New York, LA, places like that. Absolutely.
It's cheaper here than, anywhere else.
Yeah. Well,
who wants to live in the South? People that live in the South and old people.
Well, hey, I like the South to an extent.
To an extent.
I've lived here all my life, and I've I learned how to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Hold the door open for the ladies. Do all that bullshit. And it's great that I've learned it and I've enjoyed it, and I fucking hate Bible thumping Christians, and I can't stand it.
Right. Was that the only downside of the South, though?
Pot's not legalized.
Pot's
not legalized.
Your worries.
Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm a pretty avid smoker. Is what it is. In college. Fuck it. I'm assuming you're in college.
I'm joining the military.
Join the military. All right. High aspirations. Did you go to college or no?
No, I'm 18. Okay.
Oh, you're 18. Very articulate for 18, dude. Props up, man. I'm senior in college, and I wouldn't be arguing the way you would have been arguing when I was 18. So I've respected straight up. I've watched a couple of your videos, and I've really enjoyed them. And
thank you.
Props out, dude. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Man, independent research it's best. It's best. Fuck class. I said independent research is best. Fuck class.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I'm against raising the minimum wage.
Okay.
If we have I guess a $7.25, that's not too low. That's not too high. Just because it is $7.25 doesn't mean that a company has to pay $7.25.
Sure.
There are lots of different variables. I know a company that I work for, the starting salary, or I guess an hourly wage, was $9, and everyone gets a promotion in June, and so now I get paid around $9.40. I work here I work at that company specifically because I know I'll get paid $9.40. Walmart pays more than minimum wage. Kroger does, and numerous other grocery stores. Because if Walmart's paying $10, well, everyone's going to go to Walmart. So now Kroger has to pay more. So,
Well, you're noticing they're rising based on demand and based on the fact that they have to, but they've been pretty slow on the uptake. And no, I'm not worried about somebody's bottom line. I'm really not. We're still going to have the same competition if we raise up the minimum wage. It's right. The same competition. I'm not, I'm not worried about that. They still need, the staff, and they still need, they still need the service people. They still need the people in the field. So, I mean, it's not like you could eliminate those jobs completely. We're still the number one consumer base in the world. Though China, I think actually China might have just beaten us like last year. Now that I think about it, but yeah, I mean they still have to have though this consumer block.
Right. So I guess what are your thoughts on in 1938 when we first raised the minimum wage of a quarter? It resulted in significant job losses. Mm-hmm. How would you feel about that?
Well, that was a lot different of a time. We've seen, the economy's much evolved since then. We don't have near the dependence on agriculture. We didn't have near the, straight textile manufacturing jobs. It's just a much different economy now. I mean, wholly different.
Right.
Now you've got multinational corporations being able to go all over the world, dodge taxes. We pay massive corporations billions of dollars in subsidies each year. The key to me is that when you build an economy, I believe you've got to build it from the bottom up, not the top down.
So you don't like Reagan's trickle down theory? Fuck
no. It hasn't worked in 30 fucking years.
Did it increase the middle class though?
Well, during that nice little 20, 25 year sprint,
right?
He knocked it out. What it also created was a massive bubble that led to the 2008 recession.
I don't think it was just that.
Well, it wasn't just that. I mean, obviously, derivatives.
The Bush's tax cuts also, I think that was influenced by Reagan's trickle down. Theory.
Well, it was definitely a continuation of them. But that's when you artificially pump up the prices that high from that much liquid revenue. I mean, there's issues. Alan Greenspan did the same thing for 30 plus years, and while he did it, it was great, but he kept on moving the mile marker slowly back until it just. And you saw the same thing actually in China with the housing bubble that burst. I mean, what was this? I guess this was a couple years ago now, but I mean, it was a massive housing bubble, tons of equity, tons of it's the same low taxes for these apartments going up all over the place. I mean, it's the same type of stuff.
Right.
Poor people spend 100% of their money. Rich people save it. I want that money back in economy. I want people spending that money, buying new services, buying new goods.
So punish the people that were successful in life. Understand?
We're not.
You don't have to spend everything. You save some.
We're punishing you for making a couple million a year. I'm so sorry.
With progressive taxes, yes.
Oh no. If you're making 13 mil a year, you need a bigger chunk taken out. You don't need 13 mil. Well, you need another private jet. Don't give me that.
Well, I mean, isn't that the beauty of capitalism? That if someone does want to make as much money as they can, shouldn't they be able to? Like with Facebook.
Yes, but there's a limit to it. When you get the people at Enron, buying their own fucking golf course for a backyard, there's an issue.
What makes there an issue about that, though? I mean, they were successful. They understand, the value of money, understand how to save it, how to spend it. Right. And now I think, they should be able to live lavishly if they wanted to.
Sure, but they're not going to live less lavishly with a few $1 million less, is what I'm saying. They still have been able to buy that golf course. A lot of people make this argument like it's going to radically change their lives.
No, it won't.
It's a progression. It's over every paycheck. So it's chunks out. It's chunks out. They're not going to notice this shit, or they will, but it'll do much more to raise the standard of living for the impoverished of this country. And you're talking about an incentive to work, an incentive to get off the welfare, nip. Let's get people back to work. Hey, you wanna sit on your ass and not make shit, barely struggle, or you want to get out and work and be able to provide for your family?
Isn't it when it comes to welfare, if you have a car that's worth more than $5,000, don't you get revoked of certain government privileges, so that if you do make more money, you are penalized from the government? Or no?
Say that one more time.
That if you have a car worth, $5,000, aren't you revoked of certain government, I guess, policies, like when it comes to like food stamps or welfare or whatnot? Aren't you kind of omitted from that because you're not necessarily
because your assets are high enough?
You're not poor enough to, get welfare or whatnot.
That has more to do with actual income, I believe, is what you're talking about. It's not on actual base assets.
But isn't that if you have a car that's worth $6,000, doesn't that go towards your net worth? And if you have a more expensive car, your insurance is going to be higher, taxes are going to be higher. Yeah. I know in Virginia you have a car tax every year. Mm-hmm. And if you have a more expensive car, which is probably going to be newer, everything's going to be higher.
Right.
So then it's not necessarily income, that's kind of net worth.
Right. I'm trying to figure out what your point is here.
That, you don't have to be, there's a limit. Like my car, I bought it for more than $5,000. So, if I was living on my own, I would not qualify for certain government policies because my car's, just as an example of my assets, is worth too much money. And so if the government, thinks I can afford this, car that costs more than $5,000, then, that means I can afford my own food, shampoo, and whatnot. So doesn't it kind of push you back farther?
No, because that's not included in what you're making. That comes out of income. That comes out of that comes out of income. That doesn't really have to do with base assets unless it's something. I mean, pretty big. I mean, like a yacht or some bullshit. Like, yeah, that'll raise a few red flags. But,
right. So, if I work at, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
So if I work at, McDonald's and I'm making $12,000 a year, sure, so it's based off income. Well, right. I don't know what McDonald's paid. I meant McDonald's, not Walmart. But if I'm still working an hourly wage job, only $12,000 a year, what's the limit that the government has set to whether you deserve food stamps or not? And whatever that is, isn't that kind of arbitrary, or no?
It slightly is arbitrary. In that, I mean, the Fed is going to set that, and it's what they feel is best for the economy at that particular time.
Right. But I guess my point is that if you know that if you make more than $13,000, wouldn't you kind of reduce your hours so you get, say, $12,900 a year, so you can still get government benefits? So I guess to an extent it does help people, as an incentive to work, but then also to an extent it doesn't, because there has to be a limit.
Well, the progressive tax only taxes the dollars past the say the limit was 13,000. It only taxes the dollars that are past the 13,000. You feel me?
Right. Yeah.
So,
do you know what the progressive tax is for the I guess the tallest tax bracket?
I'm looking at the 2015 tax brackets. And we're looking at, actually, 2016 tax brackets. We're looking at 39.6% for 415,000 or more.
Right.
And 51, but yeah, you feel me. And that's for single, 466.95 or more for married, filing jointly or qualifying, widow/widower. 441 or more for head of household.
You're reading this from taxfoundation.org, right?
Bankrate.com.
Right.
I mean, it should be the same information.
So most people, I mean, I guess this kind of proves how incorrect or how often progressive tax is. Someone making $37,650 to $91,000, a quarter of their income is going to taxes. But if you make, almost $500,000, it's only 39. So that's not very progressive at all.
Right.
If you think about it, if I'm making $38,000, a quarter of that is going strictly to taxes.
Right. Are you suggesting lowering the, say, brackets from 91,000 on down, or are you suggesting raising the tax rates for say 190,000 and up?
Well, I believe in a flat tax. It should be around. It should be between. I'm sorry.
You're a flat tax guy. We can really talk about this. Okay.
I'm between.
Let's talk flat tax.
15 or 25.
You know how big of a? Okay, wait. What you want 15 or 25 flat tax?
15% through 25%.
For the entire every tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna literally we're gonna lose trillions of dollars at that point in revenue.
How so?
I mean, look at the brackets themselves. I mean, if you're sticking at a rate of 25%, everybody making 91,000 and up is, I mean, they're not paying anything extra.
But what percent of the population is that, though?
That's okay. Let's take a look, because that's an interesting question. And I think, let's see here.
That's assuming that, people with a lot of money like Bill Gates and, Warren Buffett, that they don't donate money. They do. They constantly donate money.
Well, and that's taken.
Yeah, with most people
that's part of deductions.
Right. Why should it not be anyway? If the flat tax is, let's say, 18 or whatever, they still donate. We're still getting that money back.
Yeah, but you can't force them to donate.
No, you can't. But people are still going to donate no matter what. Bill Gates will always donate his money.
Oh, that's fair.
That's just who Bill Gates is. Most of the rich people, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, are philanthropists. They donate large swaths of their money to other things. And if it's not going to the government, it can go to a specific cause. Let's say inner city problems. Bill Gates donates, I don't know, I guess $500,000 there. He knows that it's going to inner city kids in Chicago or whatever. But if it's going to the government, who knows where it's going to go to? Is it going to go to Obama's pocket? Who knows? We never know.
All right. Here's the deal with that. We used to think, oh yeah, people, we're going to solve our problems through charity alone. It doesn't work like that. Let's see here.
And say it did, but people are always going to donate.
Okay, let's take Title IX for example. Okay. Title IX, 1972, was enforced. Took that money, boosted up inner city schools, reinvested that in the community, and we went light years ahead in terms of education. Now we didn't have the biggest gains overall because our education system's fucked up anyway. But to say that, public programs just don't work and we should go to, let people do more charity, essentially, it's not gonna do it. It's just not.
No, I didn't say that we should, strictly live off of charity, but, Bill Gates, is always going to donate, no matter if his tax bracket or if he's getting taxed at 10% or 39%.
Not everybody's Bill Gates, though. You're
right. But, those wealthy people that you said that we're going to lose trillions of dollars, well, they're still going to donate no matter what. That's just who they are as a person. When you have more money, well, I don't need this, Bugatti. Let me give it to, Tyrone down the street or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily
tell that to Rick Ross, but okay, go ahead.
All right. I don't think Rick Ross. He's no Bill Gates. He's definitely not. He's a millionaire, but he's not like.
I'm making a joke.
Wealthy. But even him, he still puts money into the economy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When you have 5 Bugattis with that insurance, I'm sure he pays it off in cash, unless he's a moron and puts it on credit. It's still going back into the economy.
Right, but that's not really employing a lot of people. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about,
how does it not employ people?
No, it does employ people. I'm saying it doesn't employ a lot of people. Okay.
I mean, it employs the people that make the cars and the rims, and the cow farmers that get from the leather, and the places that feeds the cows. It's
right.
That's real leather.
right.
From real cows.
That's one person buying one car, though.
One car.
Versus we're talking about my tax bracket. or I'm sorry, not my tax bracket, me say raise the minimum wage instead, where that's millions of people going and buying things in the economy,
Right.
millions of people buying couches, millions of people buying apartments.
But didn't Obama try that though?
No.
In the early terms of his election, he gave everyone, like every American, $100, and then it didn't work out the way it planned, and everyone just kind of saved it, and it didn't really help the economy.
Well, nobody, I mean, because number one, dude, all right. Number one, if you just give out $100, obviously that's not going to show any sustained anything because it's a one-time payment.
But it is more money for those people to buy, maybe finance a car, buy a couch, whatever. It's still $100 that they didn't previously had.
Sure.
So, they're less likely to go, this is my $100. They're more likely to throw it away. And people didn't do that because people aren't worried about buying a couch. They're more worried about their retirement and education.
Well, for the one-time payment, sure. But when we talk about people living paycheck to paycheck, when we talk about those people, overall getting a salary, they're going to spend it. Yeah, they can put back some, especially when it's a one-time payment. It's easy to do because they're not living off of it, but they do live off their salary. When you increase that salary, you increase the need for the goods and services that are associated with that class of people.
So
versus one Bugatti.
Right, but it's not just that one car; it's the things that go into that car that employs many people.
But not as many as what would employ millions of people,
right.
For making new industries from how many people are demanding products.
Right. But if your car breaks down, you're not gonna go, oh well, that was a fun ride. You're gonna take it to the mechanic. Sure. You have to get an oil change.
Sure.
It's not like one solid thing. It goes. One car does a lot. Employs mechanics, cows, people that feed the cows, farmers, people that put the cars together, people that make the leather, that tan the leather, etc.
Right.
But anyway, the top 20% of income earners bring in the household income of just over $100,000. That's not a lot. 1% earns more than $521K.
Okay, so
it's not a lot.
1%. So we can't increase taxes on 1% of Americans. That's too much. They're taking on the bearing too much. Over 1% of Americans. We can't increase that tax bracket to 45%. Oh yeah, it's not. Oh, I got tears going down my eyes.
I mean, if you want to punish people for being successful in life, whether you personally think that they need that money or not,
it's not punishing them. Again, they're not hurting. They're not hurting. It's
all right. You make
now
$500,000. Congratulations. Give me $50,000, not 50,000. Give me 50% of that. Thanks. Good job on being successful. Keep up the good work.
Over 100,000.
55.
We haven't been talking about 100,000. Give me a salary of 1 million, and then tell me, oh, you got to take half. Okay,
which is less than 1%, because 1% starts at 500K. When the majority of Americans make under 100,000.
Exactly.
So it seems like to have a 13% flat rate. It's not each person's going to pay $2. It's still progressive in the sense that the richer people, 13% is a larger portion of their income.
I'll tell you this, dude. There's a reason why nobody advocates for a flat tax anymore, except for French candidates. Okay, please. There's a lot of research done by a lot of different economics people. I mean, it would blow such a large hole in the budget. I mean, we're talking about $16 trillion plus of annual revenue that, I mean, we need for infrastructure, for,
That's terrible anyway.
Yeah, it is shitty. But you
so
know
even
what?
though that we have a
We need to
progressive tax
improve it.
anyway, our infrastructure is still shit.
Oh, I mean,
So,
hey, I'm not taking up for Congress here. I mean, Congress blows cocks. I mean, don't get me fucking wrong. They spend more money, on bullshit projects, and I know how to deal with it. Literally, one of their projects is digging a hole and throwing money into it. I feel like that's one of their projects going on right now. But that's not a reason to say, oh well, government can't do the job. No, we can make government do the job. We've got to elect the right people into government to do the right job. And that's harder said than done, obviously.
Or harder done than said. The re-election rate for a person in the House of the Representatives is more than 90%. Yeah. Same with Congress. Strom Thurmond, which was part of the Dixiecrat Party, was in there since he was 102. Since the early 60s, that man was in Senate. He was a senator from South Carolina since he was 102.
God.
This man was completely incompetent by 94. Why is he still getting elected?
Well,
name recognition. Everyone knows who Strom Thurmond is. The fact that you chuckled means that you know who he is. If you go to a ticket and you're an uninformed voter, and you go, "Oh, Strom Thurmond, I heard him in the news the other day." Vote.
Well,
man's back in.
People need, obviously, to, well, aside from, I think that we should expand the civics courses in schools. Kids, I mean, in class, did you really have any sort of conversation anywhere close to this about what actually goes on in the United States versus there's 100 senators and you've got to be 30 years old to, be one? No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you got to be 35 to be president. You got to be a naturally born citizen. Yeah, we got that part. Let's talk about real issues now. Let's talk about social issues.
The people that aren't interested in that, they don't care.
But
my girlfriend doesn't give a rat's ass about politics. I have to throw politics down her throat, even for her to even, understand who Hillary Clinton is.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point, because she's an uninformed voter. Sorry, but I mean, she is. If she went to go vote, she'd be like, all right, it doesn't matter. But to us, who I assume you are an informed voter, we're going to consciously think about it.
Try to be.
Vote, who is, the best for the job.
Right.
While the majority of people just don't care, and you can't force somebody to care. The education system is shit anyway.
Right. Well, again, I would say that's a reason to say let's improve it. Let's restructure it. Let's make it better. I know I'm an ideologue.
Tax us more.
I'm fighting against the system. Hey, okay.
Via Bernie Sanders.
Quick one. I'll tell you this. I like him more than anybody else in the race right now. I'll give him that.
I really don't like him.
Okay.
I think he's a nut.
That's
a nut.
We disagree on that. Who do you like, Trump or Hillary?
I like Gary Johnson.
Oh shit. Where's Aleppo? I mean
that's better asking Hillary, where pills are.
Well,
Hillary should not be president anyway.
Look, I don't like Hillary.
She's not healthy at all. Even if she wasn't a Democrat, she is not healthy at all.
Well, I think, as far as the health thing goes, that the fainting, I watched the video and that did not look good. I gotta say.
Tell me that Hillary's healthy enough to be president.
I'm gonna reserve judgment on that. I don't think you have enough information. I don't think I have enough information. Nobody has enough information. We both
Why
don't
is that?
agree on we both don't agree on Trump. Yes, you're right. Why is that? She hasn't given us that information. And
not very transparent.
She's not.
Shows what kind of government she's going to lead.
She's not.
Very interesting.
And you know what? Gary Johnson doesn't have a rat's chance in fucking hell of winning. So let's talk Clinton Trump. I know you're voting Gary Johnson, but who would you rather have in there? Because
Trump.
that's who it's going to come down to. Holy goddamn, are you fucking shitting me?
I'm completely serious. I'd rather have Trump.
So sorry to hear that. How? Why?
Well, Hillary Clinton, you know, this fact that she's a Democrat, but taking that out of context, she's not healthy at all. I've seen, you know, quite a few videos, you know, of her fainting. She left the 9/11 memorial today because she felt overheated. Then she came out acting like nothing was wrong. There was also another case where a group of reporters showed up and she broke down. She, I guess, seized, or whatever that was. She couldn't handle it. If you can't handle, you know, 4 or 5 reporters, how can you remotely handle the stress of Obama?
Well, this is I mean, comparatively, she's been doing this for how long now? What, you know, a year?
Does that mean you're good at it?
No. Hey. I'm not giving excuses, and I'm not saying anything like that. I think that you know, there are legitimate issues for her, absolutely, but that does not in any way excuse the things that Trump has said, the lack of things that Trump has proposed. I would rather take a sick Hillary Clinton than any Donald Trump, any version of Donald Trump, any day of the week. I mean, what is?
That's ultimately what our parties are.
What's up?
That's ultimately what our parties are. You're a liberal. I'm a conservative.
Okay.
I'm not going to want a liberal in office.
Are you calling Trump a conservative?
Trump is more conservative than Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, he is. Well, actually,
I'm not saying I agree completely with everything that Trump says. Some things are completely out of there. I personally voted for Marco Rubio. You know, because I thought he had a better chance. He was young. He could have won. If Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz was the ballot, they would have my vote.
Well, Rubio was the Republicans' last chance. I mean, yeah. I saw that one coming. But you know, to say, put it this way, Trump has more, you know, not white nationalist supporters than I've ever seen any candidate ever.
I mean, Hillary Clinton
called Barry Goldwater for that matter. What's up?
I mean, Hillary Clinton called black people supreme predators or super predators in '96.
Sure.
Whether you have white nationalists following you or not, which she does, but you know,
are Mexicans sending their rapists, their murderers, and
not every single one of them,
and some I assume are good people? Are we making fun of disabled reporters? Are we, you know?
Is he having press conferences and having somewhat of a transparent government? Whereas Hillary won't even disclose what her medical reports are.
Okay,
very important.
Versus his tax returns. What was his effective tax rate?
Tax returns are only a recent tradition.
Mike Pence released it. Fierro Anthony, do some fucking research. Don't bother me with that bullshit. I mean, Trump. Do you really think that Trump can actually deport 11 million immigrants?
No. It's kind of silly because if they're, you know, illegal anyway, they're hiding anyway. So you're not going to find them anyway.
You know why most people are how most people got here illegally, right? They came through on green cards and overstayed their visas.
Right.
I mean, that's the main issue. It's not people jumping the fence. So this idea that we're going to build a bigger wall and deport everybody.
I mean, you can still do that. I watched a video of a guy dressed up as Osama bin Laden, and he crossed the river and nothing happened. He went from Mexico into the United States with a large camera crew, and no one came up to him. So I'm sure, I don't know these exact statistics, but, some are coming through the border illegally.
Sure.
Some are overstaying their stay. But it's a hell of a lot easier to find the ones that are crossing the border if they have to, go through a wall than necessarily, Juan over here is 2 months late on his visa. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to find 11 million immigrants, good fucking luck. I'll help. I won't find any because I haven't found any other in the past 18 years of life because you just can't tell.
Well,
unless you ask them or scream immigration, see who runs. But
no, I've actually worked on farms with illegal labor, so I mean I can personally attest to that. But okay, do you think that it's okay to use nukes? What's wrong with using nukes?
Are you talking about like with Japan?
No, I'm talking
about in the case
comments. I love war, and his comment about why can't we use nukes?
Are you talking to me or the comment?
Well, during his meeting with United States military advisors, he asked that question several times.
Are you talking to me? The comment.
Oh, I'm talking to you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I've Fiero Anthony. I mean, what we want? Hillary Clinton wants to increase our immigration by 550%. I mean, give me a fucking break. No, I mean, Trump has said repeatedly or asked repeatedly, why can't we use nuclear weapons? Why can't we put nuclear weapons in Europe? Why do we have to defend Ukraine from Russia? Why doesn't Russia just take over? Isn't Putin?
That's a good point. Why should we defend Ukraine?
Huh?
Why should we defend Ukraine?
Are they part of NATO?
Is Russia part of NATO? Is Turkey part of NATO?
Turkey is, yeah, they are.
So what would you say about the, Israel, or not Israel, sorry, Tal, but ISIS in Israel, repeatedly bombing them, but we're not in Turkey. We're not in France either.
Sure.
So why should we, and we're a lot closer with Turkey and France than fucking Ukraine.
Are you saying that we're not beating the absolute shit out of ISIS right now? Have you seen what we've been doing to them?
I didn't say that. But why are we, no, we don't who cares about Ukraine though? Ukraine's not important. We're worried about France and Turkey that are way more important allies. Turkey is far more secular than any other country in the Middle East. France has been our ally since 1776, which is why we're independent.
Are you saying that we're not at war with ISIS though? Is that what
we're not officially at war with ISIS, or we're dropping bombs on ISIS? Yes, we are.
Of course we are. We're bombing the absolute shit out of them. And right now, we're working with Turkey to take back Raqqa.
Yes. We're working with Turkey, not Ukraine. Why are we working with Turkey, not Ukraine, though?
They're separate.
That's the question.
Why are we working with Turkey?
Yes, and why are we not helping Ukraine?
We are working with Turkey and we are helping Ukraine. These are separate issues. What do you mean? We're working.
Turkey is a lot more important than Ukraine.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that we only have to focus at one at a time. We can focus on multiple theaters.
True, but why hasn't Ukraine been in the news half as much as ISIS and Turkey has been?
Because what sounds better? There's a trench warfare going on the eastern border of Ukraine,
preventing Russian imperialism.
Very little going on. There's been no real major land grabs in a while, versus Islamic extremism going up in the Middle East. Of course, the news is going to focus on something that's more conflict driven, scarier. Oh yeah, of course they are.
Are you saying ISIS is scarier than Russia?
No, but the media can absolutely make it sound like it. If you've ever seen Fox News, I mean, you know.
I don't watch Fox.
I feel like I'm gonna fucking get blown up in my own house sometimes watching that shit. They make me scared. I'm like, God damn.
Right.
And yeah, you're right. By the way, many ISIS is killing mostly Muslims because they're warriors of the faith. Congratulations to them.
Yes.
I wish them.
So should we not have a war on ISIS? I guess officially.
You're probably okay. Here's something where I might be a little bit more conservative then. Absolutely. We should absolutely take out ISIS. Now I wouldn't suggest sending in ground troops at this point. Number one, because we've beaten them back so far, and number two, because our air campaign has, dominated them all over the board. We've taken out most of their infrastructure in Iraq,
in Syria.
And Syria, yeah, we're almost closing in on them in Syria. So, at this point, we're pretty much through. I was actually for the ousting of Saddam Hussein, and a lot of people, I've heard it before, the fucking jeers and shit, because everybody thinks that going into Iraq was a bad idea, but they don't realize how we helped rid the world of an absolute genocidalist who was,
an evil man.
Yeah,
Pol Pot, but that doesn't.
Man. Well, you could almost say Pol Pot, man. Like, honestly, well, no, actually, not on that scale, right. But the systematic genocide of a people, same time deal. Where is Saudi Arabia in this? Saudi Arabia is one of the top terrorism sponsors in the world. Of course, they're at the very center of this. And yes, I think we should be a lot more harsh on Saudi Arabia than we are. I think we give them way too much free rein. Way too much. Any country that beheads journalists and, actually has people throwing acid in women's faces should not have any funding from the U.S.
So after, I guess, the war on ISIS, would you recommend, continuing the ground troops or troops in general in Iraq and Syria, or having them withdraw?
I would have them. You'd leave a residual force, but you wouldn't have thousands of troops left over. But right. you'd have advisors, people left over in military bases to help kind of ease back a transition. Absolutely, help set up a new democracy.
All right, so kind of like with Japan, because when we beat Japan, we basically rewrote their constitution. It made their emperor a lot more powerful than he actually is. Now he's more of a head figure.
Wait, what? When we overthrew Japan?
No, when we beat Japan in World War II.
Right, the emperor was a god at that point.
Yes, we made him not a god.
Right.
Yeah.
We took him down from god status.
Yeah, he's just kind of a figurehead now.
Right.
Kind of like the Queen of England. He's kind of show up.
Exactly like the Queen of England, actually. She is useless.
Yeah.
So,
She looks great on paper, though.
Well, you've the ultimate goal here is democracy, secular democracy. It's the only way we can really prevent a lot of this extremism from getting to us in the first place.
Right. So you would be for the remaining of the troops in Syria and Iraq?
Yes. They're a force, yes. A force. Yeah.
That's good. Because people that, that say that, we shouldn't be in there anyway, it's kind of silly. Because after the Korean War, we stayed in Korea.
Yeah.
In South Korea. And South Korea is pretty well off. Same with Japan and Germany are pretty well off. 40, 70 years ago, they were nothing. Right. They were rubble.
Right. Can I actually make a point to me, actually. The Middle East secular leaders were all despots. I mean, yeah, they were secular, but I mean, their basic law was through Islamic
Sharia law.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, to call them secular is not really applicable.
So what about in God we trust on our monies and not our monies, but in our money and tombs and not tombs but memorials and whatnot? Or against that?
There will within this nation forever be a wall of separation between the church and state. Thomas Jefferson, Virginia statute on religious freedom. There will. I don't believe that there should be God on the money or in the Pledge of Allegiance or any of that. There should not be a national prayer day. This is a secular country.
So, well, I know the United States cannot promote any sort of religion. So when they have a prayer day, that doesn't necessarily promote a certain kind of religion, because a Muslim can pray, a Christian can pray, a Buddhist can pray. It's not promoting one religion over the other, along with God. Three of the largest Abrahamic religions, they all have God. Allah, Jew, they're all the same God. So it's not promoting one or the other. So couldn't it be seen as more metaphorical than literal?
No, because I mean, if you believe in these gods, then every day is prayer day. I don't know why we've got to recognize it.
But that's not the. Well, I mean, the United States government does recognize religions, but it does not enforce one religion over the other.
Right, but the thing is it's separate from the state.
Right.
The state has no bearing in religion. It should not be promoting religion in any.
It doesn't, though.
When you have a national prayer day, I mean, what God?
What kind of prayer? It's not promoting one or the other.
Okay.
It's not going, all right, Christians, you can have a prayer day, but the Muslims can't.
Is prayer religious?
Yes.
Okay, then.
Well, kind of, sort of.
I mean,
you just
the
hippies prayed.
Oh, come on.
Did they not pray?
To the earth god. It's still, and I don't like these freaking nation or nature people that really, I mean, it's almost got this religious feel to it. How,
they're fucking loony.
Yeah, Mother Earth is the, this all powerful being and that
watching over us.
We've got to take care of the Mother Earth, and I don't like it either. I don't like that either.
Yeah, they're loopy.
But
I think having God on a dollar isn't bad, because I know, to me, even though I'm not religious, it's still metaphorical. Like when you think of God, we all have this preconceived notation of like what God is: supreme, good, all around the board, great guy. To be under that, it's like, oh, shit. We're kind of living high cotton. I feel like it doesn't promote one thing or the other.
Well, what it does do is it allows a lot of religious people to go, this has been a Christian nation all this time. All of our
if they want to take something, that's not on me. If the KKK member wants to take the Confederate flag because that's how they see it, that's none of my business.
Wow.
Everything's subjective. The KKK also flies the American flag, but nobody hears about that. That's interesting.
That's, I mean, yeah, I mean, I see your point there. But I would say that still, I mean, any form of religious observance or recognition is not for the state. That's my solid stance on that.
To me, it's metaphorical.
Hey, but if it's metaphorical, why do we need to say it in the first place? Why is it one nation under God? It's one nation. Fuck God. Why do we need it?
When anything's like, I guess tall can help. When it's under God, it's seen as the best, supreme. I guess it's seen as good. When it's just one nation, well, any nation. Afghanistan's one nation too. What differs us from Afghanistan? will work
a lot of
and dies.
And the USA is a secular, pluralistic country. Okay, we're not a Christian nation, so